We are live. Okay. Hello, friends. Welcome to Clario Real Estate's live show. We are broadcasting every Thursday at 1 p.m., and we are connecting with our community on a weekly basis, talking about local businesses, real estate-related topics, and other real estate markets in the community that we live in. If you would like to join the conversation or ever have any suggestions on things you would like us to talk about, leave a comment in the comment section. And today, Deborah and I are here with Kelsey Woodard in Athens and Scott Willers in Lake Tahoe.
Yay! Thank you everybody for joining us. We are so excited. I finally get to talk to Scott one-on-one. So we have been IG buddies and done some back and forth referral stuff quite a bit. And Lake Tahoe, if you're familiar, anybody has been there, it's amazing. So we're excited to have Scott join us and tell us more about his community there. And also today, I'm really happy to introduce Kelsey Woodard, our newest partner in Athens, Georgia. Kelsey, for those in Georgia, you tend to be aware that Athens is home to the University of Georgia and all things Bulldog related. So it's a really fun and different market that we'll get to talk about. So I am really gonna, other than asking questions today, I'm excited of Scott, maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and of course then your community, and then we can just keep the conversation going with good questions.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Scott Willers from Lake Tahoe, California. A little bit about me. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area and went to college in Chico, graduated, and moved to Tahoe for just one summer. That was May of 1994. And here I am, married, children, mortgage. Well, technically it was mortgage, married, children. That's the real order. And, kind of built a life here. And as much to my mother's chagrin, who wanted me to move back to the Bay Area and put on a suit and tie and have a briefcase, because 28 years ago, you had briefcases. So Tahoe itself is been, ever since I was a child, been known as a year-round playground. I can vividly remember a large poster on the wall of my family's multi-generational home that we have had since 1978 and still own today. And on that poster, it's got, skiing and water skiing, mountain biking, golf, really kind of encompassing that year-round playground kind of feel. And I think, the main reason that we have that is because of our proximity, to the San Francisco Bay Area. Here we have a high concentration of primary markets and the ability to drive in 2.5 to 4 hours to a destination resort community that is truly a year-round and family-centric community.
So Tahoe, you really do have 4 seasons there, don't you?
We sure do. And last night we got 6 inches of snow on April 21st. So this year's been a weird one. And we got a half a winter's snow in 2 weeks in December. And so a normal year for snow in Tahoe is 350 to 400 inches. And we got a little over 200 in 2 weeks in December, which was crazy. And then nothing. I think about a month ago, we maybe got 1 storm with a foot, and this one, they're expecting multiple feet this week, which is great. We'll take it. I've seen the piers and the lake level. We need the water, just like I think a good portion of the country. So while the timing is off, the moisture is definitely welcome.
That's a good optimistic way to say it. Now, will that mess up the start of your lake season? I know a lot of people come and visit. They come seasonally for long-term rentals, or there is a seasonality to the flow of life there, isn't there?
Absolutely. And it actually has changed quite a little bit in the past few years with COVID, post-COVID society, and the ability for remote work. Even before then, even before the remote work swing of a couple years ago, there has slowly been a migration, and it really started with the internet, where people were coming, sneaking away from their primary residence in the city to Tahoe to work more remote, even before remote work was actually a thing and pre-Zoom, etc. So we do have seasons, and it's really interesting because so many people think of Tahoe and mountains and skiing. The reality is we are a summer-driven community. So by the numbers, it is a summer place, and people always are, well, when is it busy? And the easy answer is when schools are out, it's busy. So if it doesn't matter if it's summer vacation or Christmas break or winter break, or any sort of holiday 3-day weekend, that is the uptick. And then for real estate and real estate sales, that is when I am busy. So the primary market's slow time is typically our really, really busy time. So when everybody's on vacation, I'm usually working.
That's interesting because Kelsey experiences some of that as well in Athens, don't you, Kelsey? Where with the school, like tell us first of all, thank you for joining us and welcome. We're glad to have you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and then also about Athens and what you're seeing in the change. It's a really good point, Scott, about the versatility, because even in the Atlanta metro area, people have moved in and out, which is why we have found a partner in Athens as people spread out.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Woodard. I am with the associate broker with Clario Real Estate and OCC Group here in Athens. Yes, Athens is also a little bit seasonal, but different because of UGA football. So the University of Georgia is located here. We are national champions for the football team. So that's a big deal here in the South. And it's kind of a joke, but here for real estate, it is a big deal because during the football season for Airbnb, for hotels, we are booked out and the prices become very premium for those Airbnbs during that, and other big things like graduation at the University of Georgia is huge. The music scene here in Athens is huge.
School calendar, right? I mean, I know you work with a lot of investors who have rentals there, so the school season affects the flow of traffic in and out of Georgia, doesn't Athens, right?
Absolutely. We have over 40,000 students, and most of them need a place to live. So the student rental market is booming here.
Wow. Cool. So we have Scott, who's total vacation market, Kelsey, who handles a lot of investment properties. It's interesting. And then here I am in Metro Atlanta, where it's just a mix of everything all the time. Mm-hmm. So it's fun. So what I wanted to do, my purpose of having us all together here today, is to just let people know about these great areas outside of the Atlanta metro area. And then for those of our friends who are watching we do get people from California looking, as they're cashing out in California, they're looking for places to park money. And the same thing's going for New York and Connecticut, the East Coast and the West Coast. After COVID and with the appreciation of prices, these are some really great areas to look into investing or parking some extra money to build an investment portfolio. So that's what I was hoping, because Scott, you're always sharing. Scott sends out really awesome monthly emails with what's going on in Tahoe information, and I love reading them every month because it's always fascinating. It's just that, so to us, it seems fun to live in a vacation market, but
it really is. It really is. And that's part of my business kind of mindset and tagline is, the name of the business, Your Own Tahoe, the Willers Group. But our sub tagline is lifestyle, recreation, real estate. And I mean that for me personally as a lifestyle in that order. And that I feel is really what's most important for setting yourself up for success, is putting it lifestyle, recreation, real estate based upon where I live. And with me growing up in the San Francisco Bay Area, 58% of Lake Tahoe buyers and sellers come from the 9 Bay Area counties. And then 96% of our buyers and sellers reside in California, which is an interesting stat of knowing where where your business comes from and where people are migrating from and vacationing from. And part of, the knowing of that is, gosh, where was I going with this?
Well, that is a big
Really,
yeah.
it was, by having that, knowing where the lifestyle, recreation, real estate, and it was the growing. I now recall where I was going with this. It was the, growing up in the San Francisco Bay Area, 17 miles south of San Francisco in a town called Burlingame, right by San Francisco International Airport. That family home that we built, parents bought a lot for $25,000 in 1976. And they built a 2,400 square foot home with a 180-degree panoramic view of Lake Tahoe for $75,000. So, and this house was done in 1978. So for $100,000, my family built this home, and we still own it today, 44 years later. So for the fact that our family, our friends, our peers, our client base, I grew up where they reside. And I, of course, visit them, my family, regularly, and my college sphere that is all there. So what I feel that gives me an edge is I've done a life of the Bay Area to Tahoe connection. So it really doesn't matter if you're from the Bay Area or LA or Atlanta or Athens. I feel it gives me an edge in kind of understanding people's goals, because long before I was in real estate, I had done that commute from the primary market to a secondary vacation market. So I feel like it really, really helps give me a better understanding of what most people are looking to achieve with a second or third home purchase in Lake Tahoe. And that is another interesting dynamic of our market is, I would say 90+% of the sales up here are a second home or a third home. And in a few rare cases, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, adding to their portfolio. But since nobody needs a second home, I mean, right? You only need one. So, whether you're renting it or buying it, you technically only need one home. So that really, really changes the mindset of the buyer and how you kind of work together to achieve those lifestyle and real estate goals, because it is a discretionary purchase. So it does remove that pressure of looking for a place to live 90+% of the time. Now, that doesn't mean that buying or selling a home in Tahoe isn't stressful. Of course, anybody who's bought or sold a home, myself included, it is or can be stressful, even if everything goes smoothly. It's a big purchase. So it's just an interesting dynamic when the mindset is something that you want, not something you need.
So is the Airbnb, the strong or VRBO, how do most people, are they just buying them for themselves and not renting them out? Or what? Tell us more about, since you know your market well, what are you seeing people do with their second homes there?
Sure, absolutely. So, pre the advent of Airbnb, there was a minor, I would say, rental market for short-term rentals. However, most people just owned and let them sit. It was a family, escape. And then with the advent of Airbnb, VRBO, that really, really changed the buy factor, where it created an opportunity for more people to invest in a second home with the idea that they could subsidize their investment by renting it out when they weren't there. It makes perfect sense. Well, that has caught up to the community. South Lake Tahoe, it was about 4 years ago. North Lake Tahoe, it was very, very recent. The hammer kind of dropped in September of 2021 for North Lake Tahoe Truckee, where the government decided, they basically called an emergency meeting, had a vote, and had it implemented the same day, where they basically put a ban on all new short-term rental permits with no notice. And the short-term rental, it's a loaded question, because when they drew the map for California and Nevada, the map makers back in the 1800s or whatever didn't realize Lake Tahoe was there. So a third of Lake Tahoe, North and South Shore, is in Nevada, and 2/3 is in California. So with the short-term rental equation, when someone goes, hey, what's going on with short-term rentals? and I have to say which state, which county, which town, because what Washoe County does in Nevada versus Douglas County in Nevada versus El Dorado in California versus Nevada versus Placer versus the town of Truckee, it's all different. And so
this is so enlightening, because I don't know about y'all, but I had no idea. I knew there was 2 states. I knew about Nevada and California, but what I didn't realize is I never took the time to think through how that legislation and governance over rental market, how it would impact people's buying and selling. So
right.
Wow, you definitely want to make sure you have a local market expert.
Right, because you have to be able to talk about these talking points depending upon where geographically is your area of interest, because it does matter. For example, Incline Village, they basically have their stuff figured out. Washoe County, Nevada, all good, no moratorium, no bans, no quotas. As long as the HOA, if there is one, allows it, you can get a permit. When Placer County, where I live in Tahoe City, which is on kind of like the northwest side of the lake, and they were the ones that did this, 1-day turnaround, and then they revisited it in April of 20. They basically kind of between September of 2021 and today, a couple weeks ago, they kind of put their program together. Well, Truckee, which is in Nevada County, they kind of followed suit with Placer, and so all of a sudden, for us as real estate agents, and we had to understand these, like, everybody wants to know what's going on, when's it going to happen, and we were in this limbo mode for months. And I'm like, I think the best, and basically the way I would have to phrase things, because I basically believe in setting expectations, and I also run an under promise, over deliver, no regrets business model. So I basically said, the information I'm giving you is what I know today. There's supposed to be a vote here in March, a vote here in April, and everything I tell you today could change and be null and void. So fortunately, I do have information for all areas. It is all worked out. I have many clients, and I sent out an email like, hey guys, this is what's going on. Here is the latest that is in place currently for the rest of the year and the foreseeable future. So that is a huge plus. The other thing, which you may not think to ask about, is at that same time in September, with that short-term, moratorium that definitely brought a hush to the market. We had our 3rd summer in a row of fire season.
Oh, that's right. I remember when we were on a group call together, and you were like, "Yep, can't participate, fires."
Right. Well, so the air quality index, AQI, I think it's 200 or 250 is considered unhealthy. Stay indoors. We had multiple days of 700 plus.
Wow.
So, I mean,
that'll put a damper on the vacation market, won't it?
Well, yes. So between short-term rental moratorium, fires, smoke, kids going back to school, and at that time, there was approximately the Delta variant surge. So add all those things. So for the first time since June of 2020, September of 2021, that is when the first hush came to the Tahoe market. Does that mean it's slow? No, it is not. It is still very brisk. There's not a lot to buy, but there's a lot of interest. For any fishermen in the crowd, we've got a lot of fishermen and not a lot of fish. So that's currently the state of the Tahoe market but we are, if we're going to get back to a more normalized buying pattern, if you recall what I said about when am I busy, when schools are out, our typical buy sell season is kind of like Father's Day, end of June, July, August, September. So we'll see if more inventory kind of bubbles up to satiate that demand.
Wow. So where I work is a much more balanced market. We do have low inventory, but we are still getting people in homes, and so it's interesting. And then Kelsey's market is again totally different as well. And Kelsey, you want to talk just a minute about, like, you do residential sales for families, regular year round, people who buy, sell there, but you work with a lot of investors as well. do you have people, like I know several people who have bought investment properties in Athens. And then she also works I guess I should point out, North Georgia has a bunch of lovely mountain lakes as well. Maybe not as well known as Tahoe, but we have those communities like you have as well. And Kelsey is quite familiar with those. That's quite a lot, like what Scott just shared. How would you, sum up your market where you are?
So Athens is, I would say, an hour in almost every direction. We've got Lake Lanier, which is the largest lake in Georgia. We've got Lake Hartwell, and then in the other direction, Lake Oconee. So also a lot of vacation markets. But here locally, it's been interesting this year. Just in quarter 1, we've seen a ton of cash purchases. So it's either you come in with cash or a strong conventional loan to win. But what's interesting about buying an investment property in Athens is our price point, I think. Even coming out of Atlanta, some people are like, oh, wow, it's only 65 miles away. But I saw 2 condos list today. One was at 155,000 and the other one was in the 160s. And these are still, renting really well on Airbnb and just a long-term rental. So your cap rates can be good in this area, your return on investment for sure.
It's so funny, Kelsey, when we have these group chats with agents from around the country, because our price points in Georgia are so different than California, Nevada, and then the East Coast. $500,000 in your market is going to buy a very nice home, probably over 4,000 square feet.
Wow.
Or we can start a rental portfolio and you'll have, 4 or 5 properties.
That is right. So it is totally different. It's so fun for me to put these pairings together of different, we had an Austin agent on a couple of weeks ago, and what's happening, and then another in Nashville. So the different areas that we're all working, the markets are so very different, but being able to connect to one another and get good information from local experts is really interesting. We definitely have had the impact of virtual. COVID opened up, people moving all over the place. Kelsey, you've seen a lot of people movement from Atlanta out there. Are they coming from other states as well? Because we know in Atlanta they're definitely flocking in from other parts of the country. How is it in Athens with that?
We actually get a lot of people from Atlanta. So we're kind of working, people who now they strictly work from home, and before they were commuting. We are just a little bit too far to commute into Atlanta for most people. But now if you can work all the way from home, they want to be on a couple acres. They want, you can come here to Oconee County and you've got some of the top private schools in the state, and you can still get a lot of house, a lot of land compared to Atlanta. So we're seeing a lot of that sprawl.
Scott, what does 500,000 buy in your area?
Well, let me phrase it another way. I'll try and answer that. But our average sales price for a single family home in North Lake Tahoe and Truckee in 2020 was $864,000.
Mm-hmm.
Today, it's $1.54 million. So we are up 45% since 2020. We're up 14% since 2021. Our days on market for home sales have plummeted 44% since 2020. And an additional 25% since.
And that's with fires and COVID and schools reopening.
Right. And so to give you a perspective on what happened and what the Tahoe market does look like and used to look like is, so if we go to February.
Might have lost him.
Yeah. He said he had lost power, but he has a backup generator, so he said he would come back.
Well, just really quick for comparison, our average price here in Athens for 2021 was at $361,000. So
wow,
Yeah.
So here I am thinking 500,000 is a joke because, like, when I'm on with California agents, and I'm talking about price points because we are literally I'm doing 3 times the work for comparatively what they are, and you feasibly could be doing 6 times.
Volume.
I know. I think it is a really good point, though, for people who are investing or want to build a rental portfolio. That I think you just did a great job highlighting what their money buys and what we really could do for them if they park, a chunk of money, especially with a 1031 exchange, wide open to come here to Athens and Oconee County, Clark County. What are some of the other counties? You've got Milledgeville as a city. Jefferson is a city. Tell us more, highlight the names of the areas you work.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, Athens is actually the smallest county in Georgia as far as land mass. And so we do sell, in all the ones that touch it because it's so small. So we have Madison County which is north. We have Barrow County, Jackson County, Oglethorpe County, Oconee County. All of those touch
Are
it.
all surrounding.
Yeah.
So that's just like where we are. Our office is in Marietta, but it's Atlanta Metro. So you've got Atlanta, you've got Fulton and DeKalb County, Cobb County, Cherokee County, Paulding County, Bartow County, Gwinnett County, and on. Hall into Hall County. Hall is where you and I kind of touch a little bit.
Yeah, true.
So that's good. Well, I guess Scott has his connectivity issues, so I'm going to wrap it up. Kelsey, I hope you'll join us next week. Sydney, you want to clue us into what we're talking about next week?
Yes, we are talking about, so we are currently creating some content on recruiting. And so we will be talking with some agents on our team and getting some new agents around here. So
excellent. So we're going to talk about life as a real estate agent, either as a beginner or as an experienced agent. Maybe get some insight into what life as a realtor really is like.
Yep.
Yeah, great. So if anybody wants to join us next week, Thursday at 1:00, we're glad to have you. You're welcome to send us questions in advance, or you can chat as we go. But if somebody that you know is curious about being a licensed real estate professional or a broker, join us.
Yes. And Kelsey and Scott's Instagram and Facebook are all in the comments. So if anyone would like to give them a follow and see what they're doing with their business, you can go find them there.
And we'll point out that anybody who needs help anywhere within the continental U.S., we also have referral partners in Canada, Mexico, and in the Caribbean now. We have a few. So it's a pretty exciting, and one in Israel. So we are well connected with agents around the country. So if you have any real estate questions, we want to be your go-to answer for all things real estate related. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.